Again, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Cynthia Evans. I'm the Executive Director of the Woodland Chamber of Commerce. The Woodland Chamber is, again, proud to host the annual State of the City program, coming to you virtually for the second year. While we sincerely hope to greet you all with a smile and a fist bump today, the Board of Directors agreed to a more conservative approach for this event. Like many of you, we are looking forward to resuming our in-person socials and open houses early in the fall. Stay tuned to our social media pages, website, and email blasts announcing the dates and details of these events very soon. The City of Woodland and a group of volunteers are working on an extraordinary event commemorating our great city. Be sure to mark your calendars for October 16th and plan to participate and celebrate Woodland's 150th anniversary. The Woodland Chamber is a proud supporter and will be hosting a booth. We would not miss being a part of this event. We hope you all will join us in this citywide celebration. For more information, please visit the celebratewoodland.org website. We are extremely excited that plans are underway for the Woodland Chamber's 55th Annual Holiday Parade, scheduled for December 11th, 2021. The parade is a community favorite, and we know it will return in 2021 better than ever. This year's theme is Holiday Magic, and we will begin accepting applications soon. For more information on this event, visit woodlandchamber.org or follow the Woodland Chamber's Facebook page. The communications you receive from the Chamber will start to look a bit different, fresh and new. The Chamber has invested in new technology that promises to keep our members informed and on top of the resources, programs, training, and networking available. Our team is undergoing extensive training over the next few months, so please keep a lookout for the latest from your local Chamber business advocate. For today's program, we're encouraged to pre-submit questions and comments during registration. If you have a question today, we ask that you please use the Q&A box feature. We will do our absolute best to get to as many questions as we can. Now, I am pleased to introduce the 2021 President of the Woodland Chamber of Commerce, Mark Ulrich.
Well, welcome everyone. I'd like to start the event with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if we can have our flag come up on the screen, I appreciate that. I'll go ahead and say the Pledge of Allegiance for us all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So it gets our meeting officially started. With that, I'd like to recognize our two primary sponsors, one being Dignity Health and the other being Van Burden Insurance. Thank you both for your participation and support of the Chamber's activities. With that, I'd like to introduce one of our presenting sponsor, and that would be Edmundo Castaneda. He is the president of Woodland Memorial Hospital. And Edmundo, would you like to give a presentation about what's going on at the hospital and this event?
Thank you, Mark, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Edmundo Castaneda, and I've got the pleasure of serving as president of Woodland Memorial Hospital, and I actually serve as president of Mercy General Hospital in downtown Sacramento as well. So I have an opportunity to have perspectives from both the Woodland community and the Sacramento community, and to learn and implement best practices from each facility as we care for our communities. I want to start by thanking the Woodland Chamber of Commerce and the City of Woodland for having me speak today, and I'd also like to welcome everybody that is tuning in. We are truly honored to be the presenting sponsor of the State of the City, and proud of the service that Woodland Memorial Hospital has provided Woodland, Davis, and our surrounding communities for over 100 years. This past year has reaffirmed my belief in the aptitude in our hospitals. We were challenged with the eminent task of battling a deadly virus, and due to the power of teamwork, we were able to meet the challenge head on. We established community COVID testing sites and vaccination clinics with the help of a few community partners such as Yolo County and California Rural Legal Assistance Foundation. We educated the public about the virus's impact and raised awareness around the COVID-19 vaccine and how it can keep ourselves and loved ones safe. Through our hospital's mobile vaccine clinics, we were able to immunize our county's most vulnerable residents, from migrant farm workers to those experiencing homelessness, resulting in the vaccination of more than 2,500 individuals. We've known this all along, but our staff here at Woodland Memorial Hospital are true heroes. If the last year has taught us anything, reaching out and cultivating meaningful relationships is everything and not something that we should take for granted. As we transition into a new normal, and with the state of California's current COVID-19 guidelines, I look forward to the opportunity to further connect with many of you and with this amazing community. Together, there is nothing we can't overcome through the power of human kindness. So thank you for all your support as we continue to deliver on our mission of providing caring and compassionate service for all in Yolo County. Thanks again, and I'm back to you, Mark.
Thanks, Edmundo. We appreciate that. With that, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our keynote speakers today, which are Mayor Tom Stallard and City Manager Ken Hiatt. I'll give you a brief bio on each of them. Tom is a native Californian. He holds degrees in economics and law from UC Davis. In addition to operating two businesses, one being a legislative intent service, and the other is the Rose-Colored Glass Company, which rehabilitates historic commercial properties. Tom has a rich history of public service. He served on more than 20 non-profit boards. He is a former 8-year Yolo County supervisor and is again currently our mayor of the city of Woodland. Tom has helped stimulate several innovations for environmental sustainability that have made Woodland a quiet leader in best practices and conservation. Thank you, Tom. I'm going to go ahead and read Ken's bio. Ken, welcome. Ken Hiatt serves as our city manager for the city of Woodland. Ken is a Yolo County native and an alum of UC Davis. Prior to becoming hired in 2013, he worked 20 years for the city of Davis, where he served in various planning and economic development capacities. In addition to overseeing the city's operations, he is actively involved in helping implement the city's 2035 general plan, developing a stronger business climate, stimulating downtown revitalization, and managing the city's capital infrastructure and environmental stewardship projects. I'd like to give them a big welcome and thank them for making this event possible. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to our speakers, Mayor Tom Stallard, and start the program.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. Thank you to the Woodland Chamber for hosting this annual look at the state of our city. And I'd like to also thank Spencer Bowen, our communications manager, who helped with the remarks that I'm delivering today, and others, and also Jay Kimura, who's doing technical support for the call today. And I know at the Chamber, you've got Josh Hilliard also providing technical support. 20 to 30 minutes is a modest amount of time to consider what really is a vast subject. I will lead off with some introductory comments, followed by short presentations by my colleagues on 3 aspects of our commitment to youth, followed by a quick description of what is happening and planned for our commemoration of our 150th year as an incorporated city, and an update from Ken on the lab at AgStar. At that point, there will be time for questions for all of us. Woodland now stands as home to 63,000 people, and among California's cities, we rank 157th out of 478. Placing us in the top third of California cities by population. I mention that because we tend to think of ourselves as a small town, but we really are not. Yet that small town Midwestern charm is part of the magic of Woodland, and we do not want to change it. Our council recently adopted our budget for this fiscal year. It totals $205 million. Of which around $61 million represents our general fund, from which we support all the usual city services. As noted in the press, Woodland has survived the pandemic in reasonable condition. As a mark of the success and diversity of our economy, our sales tax revenue in 2020 exceeded that of 2019, despite overall budget reductions due to the pandemic of around $3 million. Let me say that again. Our sales tax revenue in 2020 exceeded that of 2019, pandemic notwithstanding. Congratulations to all of you in the business community who helped make that possible. I would now like to invite our colleague, Vicki Fernandez, who represents the 4th District, which is most of the northeast part of our community, to tell us what we are as a city doing to help our youth take advantage of higher education. Vicki? You're muted, dear.
Sorry about, thank you, Mayor Stallard, and thank you to the Chamber. Our council is committed to ensuring that every student who graduates from a Woodland High School has the opportunity to complete at least 2 years of college. To achieve that goal, we partnered with Woodland Community College and Dr. Artemio Pimentel to provide generous subsidies for those wishing to continue their education through the Woodland Promise program. While the state provides the courses at no cost, the City of Woodland will cover Woodland Community College students' incidental fees totaling around $1,500 per year for each of the 2 years. In addition to that, there will be an additional $1,000 scholarship available for the 2nd year for those students who show their commitment to serving their community during their 1st year of community college.
Thank you, Vicki. Our youth have many needs and many diverse challenges. Our Woodland Police Department operates programs to get these kids back on the right path to successful living. I would now like to call upon our colleague, Tanya Garcia Cadena, who represents our 3rd District, comprising the northwest part of our city, to describe some of the good work being done. Tanya?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Woodland Police Department has a long history of engaging our youth in positive programs and activities. Through a collaboration with the Woodland Joint Unified School District, we have 3 resource officers, one at Pioneer High, one at Woodland High, and one who rotates among the other school sites. Our officers provide our 4th and 5th grade students with the GREAT program. GREAT stands for Gang Resistance Education and Training. And this is an opportunity for our young people to interact with our officers in a positive and familiar setting. Our officers have also established a Police Activities League. That's a nonprofit organization with a goal of enriching the lives of Woodland's youth by providing recreational, athletics, social, educational, and cultural activities in a supervised environment. Middle school students who are considering a career in law enforcement or forensics are encouraged to participate in the Youth Community Police Academy. That's it. The Woodland Police Department provides an Explorers program for high school students who wish to engage with the department as well and our community. And finally, we recently brought the innovative Advanced Peace Community-Based Gun Violence Reduction Program to our town. This program focuses on investing in the development, health, and well-being of those individuals who are at the center of the gun violence crisis. Advanced Peace is an evidence-based, data-driven program that tangibly reduces gun violence and creates safer communities. We've just begun to implement this initiative, and we look forward to reporting back on it in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. The 3rd area where we are working hard for our youth is job training. Our Mayor Pro Tem, Myra Vega, who covers the 5th District, which is most of the southeast part of Woodland, will update us on our current efforts in this area. Myra?
Thank you, Mayor Stallard, and thank you, the Chamber, for putting on this event. So we know that one of the greatest challenges for the business sector is hiring good workers who are not only work ready, but also have the basic and advanced skills necessary to do the jobs. To get our youth more engaged, we've started a mentoring program called Summer at City Hall. We're also interested in partnering with businesses and nonprofits to provide mentoring opportunities for as many young people as we can. Companies like Aquafil, which is an Italian company that recycles carpets, is willing to host job training programs for maintenance engineers to care for its $16 million equipment inventory. They're open to partnering with assets within the community, like the Woodland Community College and the County Office of Education, to provide certificate or customized training. Other employers have also indicated a willingness to develop public and private job training programs. We look forward to working with the Chamber and many of its members to grow in this area and expand our workforce development programs. Thank you, Mayor Stallard.
Thank you, Myra. Now, as you have heard, this year marks Woodland's 150th year as an incorporated city. We couldn't let this year pass, COVID or no COVID, without appropriate recognition and celebration. Councilmember Rich Landsberg, who represents the first district, which is most of West Woodland, has been putting a lot of energy into this. Rich, please update us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of the chamber. I am part of a community member committee, which has been meeting weekly to plan and organize events celebrating the incorporation of Woodland in 1871. But on October 16, Woodland will pull out all the stops to celebrate 150 years of excellence. It will be a full day to show our pride of place by involving our citizens, our service clubs, other organizations in a joint commemoration of what we have become. On Saturday, October 16, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., community members can enjoy a community-wide festival hosted in downtown, which will include vendors, nonprofits, local businesses, live performances, kids' activities, artwork, food, and much more. We're very excited that the Chamber has already signed up to participate in our festival. The committee also wishes to thank Nugget Markets and Food for Less Market for being the title sponsor for this celebration weekend. To capstone the weekend, the city will host a fireworks show in celebration of the sesquicentennial, the evening of Sunday, October 17th. We invite all Woodlanders to attend this exciting, family-friendly weekend celebration. The fireworks in particular are an appropriate way to commemorate our independence, as prior to February 21 of 1871, Woodland was governed by the County of Yolo's 5 supervisors. In addition to the October 16th and 17th weekend, we've been hard at work at many other additional initiatives. We offer Celebrate Woodland bike and walk routes throughout town, a youth 150th birthday card contest, commemorative food items available from our local producers, a commemorative t-shirt designed by a local high school student, now on sale at Sword in downtown Woodland. We also have a special edition souvenir ball cap on the way. Look forward to getting that. And we have much, much more planned for the rest of the year. Please visit our website, celebratewoodland.org, to learn about Woodland's history and all the fun ways you can celebrate with us throughout the rest of 2021. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And thank you, Rich, especially for your passion for this activity and your leadership. Now, while you have heard from all of us, it is important to remember that we are supported by a team. This team of 310 municipal workers is led by a person who has advanced through municipal organizations to become Community Development Director of 2 cities, Economic Development Director for our city, and now fully prepared and just about a little over almost a year and a half in the office, our city manager. I speak, of course, of Ken Hiatt, who has helped reinvigorate our downtown, strengthen relationships with our business community, including launching the Food Front Economic Development Campaign, establishing the California Honey Festival, and much more. Today, he will talk about the city's latest partnership with AgStart to create an innovation lab for new ag and food science-focused companies. Ken.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Stallard, for that kind introduction, and thanks to the Chamber for hosting another State of the City this year, and for those at least 64 companies out there listening in. Thank you for your time today. Yeah, it's my pleasure to share a little bit of background on the Lab at AgStart project, as well as some future optimism about the impact I believe it will have on Woodland. So a core tenet of the city's economic development growth strategy now for about 5-6 years has been how to diversify the job base that we have in our community, and specifically target around technology and science-based industries. The SAC region, Woodland included, I believe has failed to fully capitalize on the power of the university just to the south of us that is spinning out more intellectual capital and commercializable technologies than almost any other research institute in California and across the country. Yet, do we see fruit yet in our community and in the region commensurate to that? I believe not. So building off our strengths as a food and ag hub, the city has been actively partnering with AgStart, which is a nonprofit organization that's based here in Woodland, helping food and ag based startups, not just here in our region, but actually across the globe, to take early stage ideas and take them to market. In engaging, however, with these early stage companies, one of the key ingredients that we consistently hear that is lacking in our innovation ecosystem is the access to affordable, well-equipped lab space to help them in their early and very vulnerable stages of commercialization, test their technologies, and invest their time and energy in their research and not in leasing space. And so with that challenge before us, we partnered with AgStart to conceptualize a innovation lab in downtown Woodland that would solve that need and provide that space for those companies. So fast forward 3 years, last month, the lab at AgStart opened in the Wiseman building in downtown Woodland, which was a redevelopment project from, 15, 20 years ago. And now again, bearing, I think, very impactful fruit. And is now home to a nearly 5,000 square foot wet lab incubator space, which is the largest now in the Sacramento region. It offers 28 lab benches for rent, shared access to state-of-the-art lab equipment, as well as a one-of-a-kind co-located food innovation lab. So all that means potential success, I believe, for Woodland in the future. And that success is already starting to materialize. We've seen significant interest leading up to the opening and now after the opening from companies within this region, across the country, and more importantly, more and more so internationally, that are now zeroing in on Woodland as a place where food and ag innovation is occurring and a place that they want to locate. And as these new companies grow out of the incubator, we need to be positioned as a region and more importantly, as a community to host their capacity to grow, whether it be a dedicated lab space for their company in downtown Woodland, manufacturing space in our industrial area, or a new world-leading headquarters in the Research and Technology Park. I believe Woodland is better positioned than any other community in this region to really capitalize on this potential. These companies will not just bring economic development in the fiscal sense for the city, but I believe more importantly, create jobs and careers for our youth to aspire to here in this community, and ultimately bring back youth that have potentially sought those careers outside of our community back into Woodland, where they can establish their own families and carry on their family tradition here. Let me conclude with this, that I believe one of the most exciting part of this project for me has been to see, as we put out this vision to the community, the response that we've gotten in terms of belief in the potential for this vision to come to reality and the impact it will have. And so I want to recognize the collaboration that went into this project, starting with the federal EDA. We secured an Economic Development Administration grant with support of Congressman Garamendi's office. We parlayed that into a partnership with Yolo County, where they matched our commitment to the project to help provide the match to the EDA grant. And then we tapped into the private sector here. And I want to recognize Yochadehi Winton Nation, who also stepped up to underwrite a significant portion of the lab, as well as Rayleigh's, Bright People Foods, First Northern Bank, and others. And so it's been a great testament to what putting forth a vision can do, and the readiness and willingness for our local community to step forward and follow that vision. So, and I failed to recognize Syngenta and Bayer Crop Science, who donated over $500,000 of lab equipment into the lab. So very excited to see where this project leads us into the future, but I think has positioned the community well to transition into the next phase of the new economy and take advantage of that. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you, Ken. This is truly a huge thing for our community. It's so exciting. I hope everybody gets at some point to visit the lab at AgStart, and you can just feel the creative energy among the bright people there who are working on new ideas for the future. I also want to say thank you to Ken, not only for quarterbacking this, but for working with John Sellup of AgStart, who has also been the key player in getting this done. All right. And speaking of growing new businesses in our community, one of our priorities is now ensuring that we have the land and building space necessary to retain these companies and attract new ones. Other new ones. Woodland's inventory of available commercial space is at a historic low, posing very few options for those who would like to invest in growing their companies here. To address this, Woodland is working on two major incorporations. And that means expanding our city area. One includes most of the 450 acres to the northwest of our city, just around the existing industrial area. And the second is land slated for the Woodland Research and Technology Park, both of which were identified in the general plan as key opportunities for new employment areas. These annexations are scheduled to be completed this fall, following the successful completion of the environmental review process for the Research and Tech Park, which is almost done. Once again, this park will include over 2 million square feet of research, technology, and advanced manufacturing space, surrounded by landscape grounds and centered around a linear park with civic amenities and up to 1,675 additional housing units. With our wonderful university only minutes away, we feel we are putting together the elements for a successful economic future for our community. It will be thoughtfully designed and executed and bring long-needed options to Woodland. With these future-minded efforts, the many world-changing ideas coming out of the university, as well as the lab at AgStart, we'll be able to put down roots in Woodland that will bear fruit for generations to come. Before we go to questions, I would like to say that in thinking about this talk this morning, I found myself thinking that the state of the city is really the state of our citizens. How are they thinking and feeling? My general impression is that despite the pandemic and sheltering in place, despite rising temperatures and numerous fires and drought, and despite the continuing challenges of homelessness, and despite the national political malaise epitomized by the tragic insurrection at the US Capitol on January 6th, Woodlanders still love their community. And as we know from years of business walks, so does our business community. So friends, my attitude is the state of our city of Woodland is pretty good. And now we're going to turn it back over to the chamber, who are going to receive your questions, of which we're happy to provide responses. Chamber? Cynthia?
Yes, and we have a word from our sponsor.
Everybody needs a friend, one that's true to the end. When you need me, I'll come through, 'cause I know just what to do.
Thank you, Dignity Health, for that wonderful message. We are going to move into question and answers. And just as a reminder, there was a few calls just now in our office that there was some trouble accessing the link. We are recording today's program. It will be available on the Chamber's website after today. So you can check back to the beginning of the program. We do have some questions that were submitted during the registration process. And just as a reminder, please use that Q&A box. You can ask your questions, anything that you would like to hear about, please use that feature. We will do our best to get to as many as we can. And if there's time, we may even use the raise your hand feature. So first, This one is for Mayor Stallard. How does Mayor Stallard propose to rebuild Woodland and our locally owned businesses in a progressive way?
Well, thank you very much for the question. Obviously, the pandemic has probably been the greatest challenge to our local small business community we've ever faced. And we've, as a city, have been working very hard to be there for them any way we could. We started off by creating takeout zones in front of each restaurant, for example. And then when federal funds became available, we basically allocated them to those businesses that applied. And that's how we got the parklets you see in downtown Woodland. Those are basically funded with public money, but it allowed outdoor dining when there were concerns about being indoors. And we basically created stoplights, that allowed for safer movement of vehicles around these parklets. That's what we're working on so far. I think, frankly, we're open to any other ideas. As an employer myself, I've had to work through some challenges, accommodating people working from home. And it seems like that Zoom technology came along at just the right time. So some factors benefited all of us, certainly. I'm certainly open to any other ideas. I don't exactly know what the word progressive means as it's included in this question. I think I've been in Woodland now 49 years. And I've watched a lot of turnover in businesses in that time. We have some businesses that have been here continuously throughout that time. My opinion is that the community is constantly evolving and changing. It's incremental, but it's going on, and even among our businesses. So I think, thankfully, we have a lot of smart business people in this community. I have not seen too many small business closures in my observation. I could perhaps be corrected on that, but I also think we have enlightened landlords in the community that worked with tenants in terms of rebating rent and other assistance to help them. But I think that's about what I can recall. Ken Hiatt might have some additional ideas since he's been pretty directly involved in this. Ken?
Yeah, I would offer that, we've seen an interesting statistic as we've analyzed our local business community, and particularly the small business. We have a very strong and diverse small business community that's made up of, a strong minority as well as women-owned business community. And so I think if we were to really zero in on supporting and strengthening that segment of our business community, there's no end to what, we could potentially see. And so, we're starting to develop strategies around how to reach out and connect with those folks and continue to support them. But, there's a lot of challenges for small businesses, that are facing right now. And so I think really figuring out how a local municipality in partnership with the chamber can prop up those small businesses, make it through these tough times, will be well positioned in the future.
I would add one other thing, and that is, I think listening is really important. And we really do try to listen to what our business community is saying, and wherever we can respond and help, we want to do it. So we have other challenges down there, as you know, and throughout the community, homelessness being one that comes up regularly. And we're always trying to help our businesses deal with that issue as well. Next question, perhaps.
Thank you very much. The chamber does communicate with our membership on a regular basis, and we hear from our members concerns of the homeless population. And we did receive a question related to crime reduction, including vagrancy and prevalence of traffic violations. There's another part to the question related to road repairs, but could we hear a little bit more about these concerns?
You went through it kind of quickly. What kind of care?
Crime reduction, including vagrancy and prevalence of traffic violations.
Prevalence of traffic violations. Well, I'll just go ahead and say, anytime anybody sends anything to me, and I recommend email because I could forward email. It's easy. Texts are hard to forward, as most of us know. So if you send something to us in email, it's going to go to where something can be done about it. We do have a traffic division in our police department. You'll see them in various places moving around the community when people bring circumstances to our attention. It does seem to me that we're experiencing what I would call a little rash of scofflaw driving in the community. People passing vehicles on West Street, for example, that's narrow to begin with. And then, of course, the hot rodding that goes on after hours. I know our police department is working on strategies to deal with these issues, and I think they are wherever they can, but they can't be everywhere, and we do have these challenges. I guess going back to that first question, listening is important. And if you write us, we are going to hear what you have to say, and if we can do something about it, we will. And I hear a lot about fireworks going off. It's very upsetting to some people, but obviously others think it's a lot of fun. So we're looking at solutions implemented in Sacramento and Folsom this past July 4th, and we've asked our staff to bring an ordinance to us that makes it a little easier to cite those who let off illegal fireworks and continue to do it for days around the July 4th holiday. Anything more you want specific comment on?
Well, Mayor Stallard, I'll take the road repair portion of that question. We consistently hear questions or concerns around the condition of our roadway network. And undoubtedly, right, there's more repair and work to be done than staff time and funding available to fix it. And part of that is a factor of us being a 150-year-old community, right? We've got very old infrastructure, and that includes our roadway network. But I think a testament, whether it be Kentucky, Court Street, West Street, Gibson, East Main Street this year, future Gum and Matmore, we're investing hundreds of millions of dollars, both in the local level, but leveraging most of that funding from state and federal sources. And so we are very actively pursuing that issue to address the worst streets in our community. And I actually think that our streets are in a better condition now than they have been in the last 10 years. But that is not to discredit how much work is yet to be done.
Thank you. Please share an update regarding the city's plans to comply with SB 1383 organics diversion mandates by January 1. And can you elaborate as to how the surplus?
I'll start off, but I'm going to pass this one to Ken as well. There is a bill in the legislature supported by all the cities in California that I know of to extend that deadline for an additional year. It's pretty complicated. It's costly. It needs to be done right and done well. So Ken is working with his colleagues at the other cities as well as the county. Ken, why don't you tell them what your fellow managers are working on?
Yeah, I mean, the scope and complexity of 1383 is immense, and the time that's been provided to local jurisdictions to implement it is inadequate. But that said, we are actively working with the other cities in the county, and Yolo County has been very helpful in partnering with us to identify where the key points are for each of our jurisdictions to target towards implementation. Come January of next year, tier 1 generators, which are all grocery stores and large food producers or cafeterias, will have to comply with the initial phase of this bill. And what our message has been in these conversations is, we need to develop a unified program, because we have a lot of businesses that operate across all of our jurisdictions. And the last thing we want to do is implement a program that is different in each jurisdiction, which creates more cost and more burden for our local business community. And so we're committed to find a common implementation method and program, minimize the impacts on the business community, and then also ultimately minimize the translated cost ultimately to the consumers, because at the end of the day, these programs need to be covered. The state did not provide any funding for us to cover the cost of these programs. And we're going to be relying very heavily, of course, on our food nonprofit organizations to help us ensure that food that we get out of the waste stream and divert into recovery mode is ultimately put in the place of those that need it in our communities.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the Q&A live questions here. And just as a reminder, please, everyone use the Q&A box if you would like to submit a question. You have your mayor and city manager as well as the council right in front of you, ready and willing to answer your questions. We have a question about from Peter. What is the future for the mall?
Well, I'm just going to start off by saying the mall is in private ownership. So we don't control what happens at the mall. If it's has to be, whatever happens there has to be consistent with the zoning out there, but it's a built structure. And our city actually has made a number of efforts to work with the mall in terms of evolving to perhaps a more current model of operation that might incorporate housing around it. You remember we had a major charrette about 3 years ago, brought in a lot of design professionals, all volunteers, and developed a plan which regretfully was not considered by the mall ownership. It is turned over and it is currently listed for sale, as according to my understanding. So it's unfortunate. I mean, if there's things become code violations or nuisance, we can seek to abate them, but it requires a collaborative relationship with the owner. Now, Ken's been more intimately involved in this, as well as our economic development staff. Perhaps he would care to add something to my response.
Yeah, so I'll add both in the general plan and the follow-on zoning ordinance that the council adopted, specifically redesignated the mall for a wide range of flexible uses to help the market take advantage of the opportunity that I believe the mall poses, whether it be housing or repurposing the commercial space for new uses. And the mayor's right. Ultimately, it's in the private sector's hands to figure out how to repurpose the mall. We have fortunately seen portions of the mall, and for those that aren't aware, that mall is actually broken up into probably 12 different parcels, many of which are owned by individual property owners. But a lot of those main anchor tenant spaces and pad spaces have been sold off to individual owners. And we're starting to see some of those spaces redeveloped and repurposed, including most recently Indian Valley Healthcare, who's taken over the Burlington Coat Factory. Just had a conversation yesterday with another prospective tenant. So likely, I think we'll see a slow evolution of that property turned over into new and a broader mix of uses.
It's interesting to me as a long-term resident that people thought the mall was going to kill downtown Woodland. But I think we all can say that downtown Woodland has been evolving nicely over the years. And the mall is going to evolve as well, as Ken indicated.
Thank you. The downtown Woodland is certainly something to be proud of. Are there plans to build any 55+ homes, gated communities, or new independent living facilities in the near future?
Well, that's a planning question, and it's a good question. Ken, I know we at one time had plans for one at Sports Park Drive and East Street, but the developer did not feel it could be economically done, and that property turned over to another operator, and it will now be single family homes. That's the last project I know of that sort. So I personally feel Woodland could handle another mobile home park in the community. The people in Leisureville are very happy with their housing. It's economical, it's easy to care for, it's efficient for them. So I don't think we should be we should not not feel good about more mobile housing for the community. It really does work, but I don't know of any pending project. Ken, do you?
Yeah, I mean, we have multiple parcels zoned and available for age-restricted housing to be built. We don't have any that are absolutely required to be age-restricted under our zoning. There is this affordable housing site in Spring Lake that's a rental site that has been acquired by a nonprofit affordable housing developer that intends to build it with 55 plus affordable units. They're actively competing for state funding to help finance that project. Other than that, we do have some projects that we've intentionally worked with them to build universal design features into homes. You'll see a lot of the new homes being built are single story to help accommodate aging in place. So we're addressing some of that need through some of the building requirements in some of these new projects. But as far as a gated community or a Del Webb type development, we do not have any currently proposed at this time.
Thank you.
If I could add to the biggest problem with housing, period, is the cost. It is so expensive to do. And we, obviously market rate housing will find its buyers, but for any other kind of housing, the cost is very hard. And we have not built a market rate, multiple unit housing project of any size since what, 2014, Ken?
Actually, 2004.
Okay, 2004. I mean, why? It's simply because we had a developer trying so hard to do it and he couldn't get lenders to lend. The rent structure plus the set asides for low and very low made it cost prohibitive. We are still trying to crack this nut, but the legislature doesn't make it any easier. Everything must be sprinkled. Everything must have solar on it. All of these are significant cost factors to what is already costly housing. And the building code is amended almost every 3 years with more restrictions. So this is a big challenge to all of us. And I think we, as a community, have to decide, and the state has to decide, if housing's that important, how are we all going to share in the cost of it?
Thank you. We want to let you all know that the raise hand feature is now live. So we may be taking a few of your questions. If you'd like to go ahead and raise your hand and speak live. I do have some more questions in the Q&A box. Will the existing parklets downtown be staying?
I can handle that one, Tom. So the parklets, when they were put in initially using CARES Act funding provided to us through the county, those were intended to be temporary with an intention to evaluate their effectiveness in terms of providing space, not just for restaurants to expand and operate outside during COVID, but as a urban design amenity downtown. There's been long talks around what we can do to Main Street to further enhance it as a pedestrian environment. We've had very good response from the public as well as the business owners that utilize the parklets. So we are actually actively right now going through an evaluation process with them, as well as the other business owners downtown, to get their feedback on how they've been successful, where we may need to make modifications, or potentially, if there's enough concern, do we consider having them removed at some point. I believe, Woodland, like many cities, have found them to be not just impactful to the business community, but the community has received them well. So we'll find some balance through this process, and ultimately we'll see many of those parklets remain long-term. But we'll be going through a public process and bring it back to council, final decision on how we want to treat those in the long run.
I'd like to jump on that and just say, people love them. I love them. It's fun to sit out there. It adds life to the street to see people out having a good time. But part of the accommodation to have parklets be functional was loosening of alcoholic beverage control restrictions by the state of California. I mean, being able to carry drinks across a public sidewalk to a parklet is a technical violation. And I think those provisions were essentially relaxed during the COVID situation. I'm hoping they will see fit to allow that to continue. So we'll have to all see.
Thank you. We will now take Sherry. Sherry?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead with your question.
Can you hear me? This is Sherry.
Yes, Sherry, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. And I apologize. It took me 45 minutes to try to get into this Zoom. So I'm really behind the ball on it. So my question is that I go to the dog park with a little Boston Terrier. I know this seems not very important, but so many people are coming to the to the small dog park with their large dogs. And my little Boston is under 20 pounds, and they roll her, and she's a runner and she loves it. And I bring a swimming pool. But these people are just coming with these big giant dogs, and there's a sign that says, 20 pounds and under. Is there anything we can do?
Well, we can ask our community services department perhaps to look into the matter and see if there can't be something else done. But it's a cooperatively used facility by citizens and their animals. And let me ask you the question. Have you asked people with larger dogs if they would please take their dog over to the large dog side?
We have, and there are people that realize that they're in the wrong because they're on the wrong side, and they do go over. And then there's others. There's a rescue lady that brings 7 dogs. Wow. And she just kind of plants her feet. And so I and my friend end up getting in our truck and leaving, and try to going another time. We try to time it when people aren't there, but it's the heat of the day. I got a short snoused dog, and she's got to be there when it's cool.
Well, one of the things I think a lot about it as a member of this council, I think we all do, is civility, and being considerate of one another. And probably most of the problems that happen among citizens is from lack of consideration. And I don't know that anything we can do through ordinance will change whether people are going to be considerate or not be considerate. I certainly am happy to hear suggestions, but I'm not sure I have an answer other than life is better when we all are mutually considerate. In fact, Vicki Fernandez was a lifetime teacher of kindergarten. A lot of good lessons learned in kindergarten would be well recalled by citizens in their adulthood, wouldn't they, Vicki?
Well, Vicki, congratulations. I retired in 2012 after 40 years in special ed with Woodland Joint.
Well, thank you, Sherry.
And so maybe a possible suggestion, could the sign possibly be changed? Please enforce small dog, large dog, or something. Is there anything we can do to keep making this comfortable for me to go and my friend?
We'll talk with community service department. Christine Engels, the department head and assistant city manager, and we'll see if we can beef up the sign as you suggest.
Thank you, Sherry. We'll move on. We have a question here. When is the proposed business park along Highway 113 breaking ground?
Well, it won't be soon enough, but Ken's working really hard on it. And I think we're talking about hopefully 2022. Isn't that correct, Ken?
Yeah, I mean, it's predicated on the council ultimately approving the project and getting annexed, but it'll, if it gets through that process, it should be in a position to break ground as early as 2022.
Thank you.
Stand by.
It's exciting. With the drought, what is Woodland doing to save water? Also, how are we set up water-wise?
Rich Landsberg and I sit on the Woodland Davis Joint Clean Water Agency. I just want to say initially, Woodland is really favored in water. We don't want to, meant to talk too loudly about that, but the fact is, creating the Sacramento River treated water system was such a masterstroke for our community. It took us off groundwater, which was constantly being more degraded as time went on. But we did not get rid of our ground wells, except a few old ones. We kept them. So they're standby wells. So if we ever have any problem with surface deliveries, we've got standby water underground. So we are having our water curtailed at the moment because it's been declared a Shasta water critical year. And we also have something called Term 91 in place, which reduces deliveries of water from the river, the amount we can take. But Woodland, first of all, as many know, has the aquifer storage and recovery system. So we, in the winter, take our full ration of water, even though we don't need it. We run it through our treatment plant and we inject it in 3 wells into the ground. We now have, I believe, 1.5 billion gallons of treated Sacramento River water in the ground stored. And we know the geology allows us to retrieve that water without significant loss. But to continue to have enough surface water, make the surface water go further, we've recently started taking untreated well water for 10% of our water. So that's the way it goes. If we suffer any further cutbacks in river water, we'll increase our groundwater. We'll have the water we need. The other benefit of reducing our 100% reliance on groundwater here is it benefits our agricultural neighbors because they rely on the groundwater for a lot of their uses as well. And because they normally take water from Clear Lake and it's in a reduced amount, they also will be relying on groundwater. So that's what we're doing in terms of water supply. In terms of coping with the drought, it's in everyone's interest to be considerate of their water use. Water is expensive. We wish it weren't so, but it is. So everybody wants to be considerate about their use of water. And you know, the last time we had a drought, Woodlanders reduced their water demand by 30%. I think it was 31%. It was a tremendous reduction in demand. Typically, 2/3 of all the water we deliver is going for agriculture, for vegetation, yards and things. 1/3 for domestic use. We know that because we track what goes down the sewers to our treatment plant, and it's about 1/3 of the water we deliver. So that 2/3 for outdoor watering is a great opportunity for reduction, and the city has done a lot in leadership for helping people develop water-wise landscaping. We do a tour every year of places, and as you go around the community, you'll see some of these water-wise landscapes. They use far less water than lawn. And we have a demonstration garden right now. In fact, we're working on it at Crawford Park, which is helping us reduce stormwater runoff. It's a totally different subject, but we're trying to be progressive about these things. Sustainability should be everybody's concern, and our city is trying to provide good leadership for our citizens. Thank you. Anybody else want to weigh in? I don't want to do all the talking. Maybe my colleagues want to weigh in on that. Rich, you want to talk on that?
You pretty much covered it. But a word to the wise is that it's not going to get any better in the very foreseeable future. Think about saving water. It's going to help all of us.
Thank you. We do have one final question, and it's kind of a fun one here. So there is some interest surrounding the 150th celebration event. And we want to know, where will the October 17th fireworks show be held?
I can handle that one. The October 17th fireworks show will be held at the Woodland High School campus. We hope to have local vendors that will be helping the event out. We hope to have some other attractions for the kids. The fireworks this year will be coordinated with music. It will be a pretty good event. We hope to see you all there the evening of October 17th.
Thank you. Before we close, could I invite my council members for any last words? Is that okay, Cynthia?
Absolutely.
Mayor Pro Tem Myra Vega, any last words for today?
Sure, Mayor Stallard, thank you. I just wanted to highlight a program that I'm really proud of that we have, and it's our community neighborhood watch programs. And that's something that I've learned about, and I know our colleague, Councilwoman Garcia Cadena, has been doing some work in her district. And I think it's an opportunity for us to build community and to work together to really work on building relationships within our community. So Ken, you want to give a quick highlight on the program?
Yeah, certainly. So as the community grows and our capacity to sort of address issues in neighborhoods gets more and more stretched. And so reliance on our neighborhood residents to help us be the eyes and the ears in the neighborhood and organize sort of communication interaction is critical. So the Neighborhood Watch Program is a very powerful tool to allow neighborhoods to organize, whether it be around an issue with crime or speeding or traffic calming. You name it, right? It provides this vehicle and structure to help us communicate, identify those issues, open up communication channels. So encourage anybody that's interested to check out the city's website and get access to that program. We have a dedicated staff person that will help you sort of navigate setting those up. But I encourage anybody interested to learn more.
And I believe National Night Out is August 3rd this year, isn't it?
Correct. Yep.
That's a lot of fun when people get out and share food and barbecue and watermelon, all the good things. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Vega. Tanya Garcia Cadena, any final words?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, yes, I would first like to thank the Chamber for having this event. This is wonderful. And I would like to encourage everyone to participate in the First Friday events that are happening. They've started back up again, and we've seen a really nice turnout. It's nice to see my colleagues out there. Music happening. There were some artists in some of the local businesses, and I hope that it encourages people to shop locally. So I really encourage all of our citizens to come out and participate, and for our local businesses to maybe do something special on those First Fridays and encourage people to come in and, a special draw that on those First Fridays.
Thank you, Tanya. Council Member Vicky Fernandez, any final word?
Thank you, Mayor Stallard. Just a brief thank you to the council and for our local businesses for hanging in there through 2020 and the pandemic. You have been persistent and have continued to find success with your businesses. And I know that initially we had a meeting with several of the restaurant owners, and the situation was pretty critical. So thank you for sticking with us and for staying in Woodland and for continuing to promote your passion to be a business owner in the city of Woodland. So I thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Vicky. Rich, anything else other than what we've already covered?
Just one thing, Mr. Mayor, and it's this. I do want to dovetail on what you said earlier, and that is that if anybody has a question regarding city or city activities, concerns about the city, feel free to contact any member of the city council. We're all anxiously waiting for these questions. We love to serve, so feel free to send us an email, and I'll be more than happy to respond, and I know my colleagues will too. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Rich. And again, emails work so well because we can easily forward them to relevant staff and make sure that action is taken. And I'm going to follow up on that sign at the dog park, Sherry. So I know we'll do something for you. All I can say in conclusion is it's a great town we have, but it's only as good as all of us are willing to invest in it and make it be the best it can be. Thank you, Woodland Chamber. Thank you, Mark Albert, President, and all of you, your colleagues, Chamber members, for their commitment to our community. I think that concludes our presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Stallard and City Manager Ken Hiatt, and all of the council members for taking time today to be participants in today's event. I thought it went just beautifully. But as I sit here, I just want to think back of last year and how we really kind of held ourselves together and worked with our local businesses and helped them survive what was one of the toughest times in their lives, and look forward to better times ahead. I think we do have a great future, and the Chamber's there to help in any way we can with our members. And I feel so comfortable with our city officials and management working with us. We're so lucky to have that collaboration. So again, thank you for your participation. I'd like to also reach out to our special events committee members. These things don't happen on their own. It takes a lot of behind the scenes work to make them successful. And again, thank you for your efforts. Also, a thank you to our headline sponsors, Dignity Health and Van Bearden Insurance. Your support is always appreciated and really helped in today's event. Also, another special thank you to some supporting sponsors, Clark Pacific, Pacific Coast Producers, and Travis Credit Union. Thank you for supporting our State of the City presentation. And lastly, I want to thank all of our participants from the community that got on board and listened to today's presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time to get involved. Your questions were wonderful. Really enjoyed many of them because there are things that you think about when you drive by, but you don't ask. So thank you for asking. And I look forward to, having the council have a chance to work on some of those issues as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up today's presentation and say thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and put next year on your calendar. And let's plan on doing an in-person event this next time around. Thank you so much. Thanks to all of you.